It's time to chill out and get ready for a mediocre Q&A live stream. If you're old enough, grab yourself your favorite adult beverage, and if you're not, stick with apple juice. Put your feet up and relax. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat. And now let's cue up the intro music. Yo, what is up, everybody? Hopefully you guys are doing well. Just trying to wake myself up because I'm tired for some reason. Some hot tea, keep me going. You know, it's funny, as I get older, something like hot tea, I look forward to it. Like I can go, I look forward to waking up in the morning to have coffee. Like I am excited to get up in the morning to have a cup of coffee. And then I look forward in the same way to have a cup of hot tea at the end of the day. Of course, in my shameless plug HVAC Overtime Yeti cup that nobody can buy. So why am I even plugging it? But maybe someday. So if you guys don't already know, on the HVAC Overtime YouTube channel, it's a channel that my buddies and I all do a show on. Adam, Joe, Bill, myself, we do a show on the HVAC Overtime YouTube channel on Friday evenings about 6 p.m. Pacific time. What is it, like 9 p.m. Eastern time? It's just a relaxed show. And I got to say, so we're currently having someone work on a website for us, and we're having a lot of fun with this, right? We kind of talked about it on the Overtime channel, but we're talking about, because they're going to like set up merch and stuff like that. But it's really funny because we all had to like come up with bios and stuff. And then we have this person that's writing our website information, like an editor that's kind of proofreading it and changing it and stuff. And we talked about it on the Overtime show, but she sent a message, not to us, but to the person that's handling the whole process for us, and was basically saying that like she doesn't understand our humor on the show. It kind of disgusts her. It was just really funny. And it's kind of hilarious to think that someone who doesn't normally talk like myself and my friends, and if you guys don't know, if you haven't watched the Overtime show, you have to go watch it and you'll understand. It is a completely uncensored show, where sometimes we talk about HVAC, sometimes we talk about gibberish, whatever. I've definitely shared a lot of stories about myself. It's pretty funny. So anyways, we were just kind of reading the first draft edit of the website and everything, and it just made me laugh so hard, because just knowing that these bios that we wrote for each other, and then this lady's having to edit this stuff, and it's just hilarious. But Anyways, I hope you guys are doing well. See a lot of people going through in the chat right now. Please do me a favor, guys. It really does help out the stream. Smash the thumbs up button. Interact in the chat. It just helps YouTube to recognize that you guys are here and that I am a person. So many people stream on YouTube and stuff, so it would be nice. So hello to everybody that's in there. I really appreciate all the support. You guys coming in here. This is awesome. Thank you so very much. Let's see. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Everybody in the chat right now is talking about all the different stuff that's in. So when I said I share some stories from myself, everybody in the chat is blowing me up right now because a lot of them are shit stories and poop stories. Oh man, that is hilarious. Yeah, you guys, there's a whole different side to me that if you strictly watch this channel and these live streams, you would never even recognize the person that is on the HVAC Overtime show, because I go from a censored, somewhat censored person on this stream to a completely uncensored person on the other stream. We're usually drinking and being silly and just having a good time. So it's actually something I look forward to. You know, Friday nights, I look forward to just relaxing and talking with my buddies, and we just have a good time. So definitely go check out the Overtime channel. Joe, if you could throw in a link to the Overtime channel, that'd be great if you get a chance. So as usual, guys, I got a bunch of stuff I want to talk about. Want to get to your guys' questions in the live chat. If you guys have things that you want me to talk about, put them in caps lock. I'll try to get to them. If I don't answer them right away, go ahead and repost them again until myself or a moderator tells you to stop posting them, okay? Because sometimes I go off on a rant. I'm about to go off on a rant right now, and I'm going to ignore the chat for a few minutes. So a lot of stuff's going to go by. So if I don't see it, throw it back in there. If I miss your question altogether, feel free to send me an email to hvacrvideos@gmail.com. So what I wanted to start this off with, you know, I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to, but some of you guys are going to be able to figure it out, okay? I want to talk about this new thing. It's not new, but it's becoming more and more popular, of these people that are going around consulting, and there's nothing wrong with consulting, okay? But these people that are going around and training, especially on the residential side, how to be a salesman, how to be a sales tech, and all this different stuff. Understand something. Sales is a part of our industry, okay? Sales is a needed thing. But if you have to deceive, if you have to lie to get a sale, there's something wrong with you, okay? It's plain and simple, right? And I'm going to get up on my soapbox here, and I'm going to talk about this for a minute because, again, not going to throw out names, but I was privy to someone's new content that they just released. And I got to see someone's sales training practices, okay? And it was disgusting. It was absolutely disgusting to see how this person goes around teaching people how to be better salesmen. Everything about it screams used car salesman. It is manipulative, it is horrible, and it is disgusting, okay? Watching this person explain their sales process and how they try to trick the homeowner. They literally go into the home and say, you know what? I'm not a salesman. I'm just a maintenance tech. And, you know, but I'll get my boss on the phone. And then he pretends to make a phone call to his boss saying that he's not a salesman and trying to convince his boss that, you know, I know you're busy, boss, but if you could just give me a quote, and basically trying to corner and pressure people into sales. That is wrong, plain and simple. There is plenty of money to be made in this industry, and I understand that sales are a big part of it, okay? Sales have to happen. But manipulating people, deceiving people, that is just wrong, okay? It's just absolutely disgusting. And I'm so sick of seeing all these people popping up on social media feeds talking about how they're going to go around and train you to be the best company. They're going to improve your profits and all this stuff. If that training doesn't include some kind of technical skills, like literally how to actually do something, then what are they truly teaching you other than to be a manipulative salesperson? I mean, it just dumbfounds me the way that this is becoming acceptable. And it's sickening, too, to think that the manufacturers of this residential equipment are behind this stuff, because they're not pushing it away. They're just letting this stuff happen. And it's just crazy. And again, I understand that sales are a part of our industry. I understand sales have to happen. And I see the need for salesmen. I get it. But manipulating people and lying to people, it's disgusting and it's sickening. And it's really sad that our industry right now has a lot of young people that look up to these influencers, right? These people that are on social media just going out there saying how their business is making millions and they've got fancy cars and they're flying on jets and they're doing all this stuff. And that is not what this trade is about. This trade is about hard work, honest work, making really good money, right? But in the honest way. And we're just setting ourselves up for a really bad outcome here. I mean, if when I go to buy a car, I'm disgusted. I'm already in a bad mood that I have to go buy a car because I know what's going to happen. I know the sales practices that are going to happen. And you go in on the defensive, okay? These sales companies, they talk that they want to become a partner with the homeowner, that they want to educate the homeowner and become have a relationship with them. There's nothing about what they do with these homeowners that is fair, honest, or right. Okay. And I'm just talking about the manipulative companies. Again, I understand that there's a need for sales, and I know that there's good companies out there that do good, honest work. Okay. Unfortunately, the bad companies are giving us a black eye. And guess what? Here's the sad thing. People are going to get so fed up. You realize that right now, with all the issues that we're having with buying a new car, with buying a used car right now, the dealerships are marking it up crazy because they have to make a profit because they're hurting, all this crazy stuff, right? The end game to that is that the dealerships are going away. The car dealerships in the future, mark my words, will be gone, and there will be internet sales. So we're going to put someone out of business. And maybe I'm wrong, but maybe if the car buying process was a little bit easier and a little bit nicer, maybe we would want to go in to a car dealership and not feel disgusted. I enjoy going to buy a new TV. I enjoy going to buy a new computer. It's a pleasant process. I know what I'm in for. I don't enjoy buying a car. And with these sales companies that are selling residential equipment and they're selling snake oils and lying and all this different stuff, they're giving us a black eye, and they're setting themselves up to be replaced, because when consumers get sick of us service technicians trying to sell them every single thing that they don't need, they're going to replace us, and they're going to go to the online retail. And that is already happening. The online sales stuff is happening, right? All these different companies, you see little blurps about Amazon's doing this or Home Depot's doing this or whatever. They're all trying to go direct to consumer, and they're cutting the middleman out, and then they're paying us pennies to install the equipment. Okay. We're doing that to ourselves with our horrible manipulative sales tactics that we use, or that some of us use. But unfortunately, when I say we, as an HVACR service technician, that's what we're all portrayed as, the same person. So if enough of us do the industry dirty, then everybody's going to look at all of us the same way. So this is horrible. And these sales practices are just ridiculous. You know, what these companies are training on, right? Let me see what I got. I'm sure that there's a lot of people in the chat talking about anything, but see what I got. Yeah, Carvana, all those different ones. So guys, but I don't know how to solve these problems, but I'm watching a few different people on social media talk about how they're training technicians and how they're doing all this stuff. They're not training. And by the way, there's a new content thing, right, where there's all these new things that we can learn from. I'm not going to name, because, you know, some of you may know who I'm talking about or what I'm talking about, but I don't want to give them any more attention than they actually deserve. But I watched some of this new content, and it's disgusting. It's disgusting, and there's no technical training whatsoever in there. And in fact, at the time of me watching this content, there was a technical video, and that technical video, myself and my friends just watched it in private, and we ripped it apart because it was all incorrect what they were teaching. They're not service technicians, honestly. And some of these companies that are literally just sales companies that do manipulative sales practices and stuff, to be honest with you, I could only imagine what their warranty callback rates are and different things like that. It's probably through the roof. I mean, it's just disgusting. So I don't know how to solve this problem. I'm just sickened by it. I'm sickened by my social media feed being blown up. I've blocked a lot of these people because I don't even want to see their content anymore. But it's sad because I know that they're preying on every new business owner out there. Pay this person $10,000 and they'll come train you to be this amazing service tech. They're not training you to be a service tech. They're training you to be a salesman that pushes manipulation, right? Again, there's nothing wrong with the salesman, and there's nothing wrong with consultants. Even I've thought about doing consulting before, but honest stuff, right? Because you guys see what I do in my videos. I'm not here trying to sell snake oils and crap like that. I'm just out there opening my eyes and saying this is what's wrong. And that's the crazy thing. I mean, I realize that there's a lot of profits and installs and things like that, but there's a lot of money to be made with existing equipment too. All you got to do is open your eyes and know how to look at it. I can pretty much guarantee you that almost every contactor, electrical contactor, and every piece of residential equipment out there that's older than 5 years probably needs to be replaced. You know, I mean, and all we got to do is measure, do some measurements, do a visual inspection. We could be honest about it, and we can drive sales. Again, sales are not wrong, right? That's what we do. We sell our technical skills and our knowledge. So, you know, I don't know how to solve this problem. I'm just disgusted by it. And, you know, it's just one of those things. It is what it is. But let me see what we got going on in here. What safety glasses do I have and or recommend? Tyler M is asking. So I wear Bomber safety glasses. Bomber is an eyeglass maker. They make floating sunglasses. They're a Southern California company. If you just Google Bomber, B-O-M-B-E-R, and they make ANSI approved, I don't know, whatever, safety glasses too. And I really dig them because they're super wide. They're clear. And in fact, my sunglasses that I wear every day are approved safety glasses too. That's why I wear those Bomber sunglasses. So there's a link, I think, in the show notes of this video, an Amazon affiliate link for the safety glasses that I use. So take a look at that. Let's see what else we got on there. What else? Yeah, exactly. Have I ever autopsied a failed ECM motor? ECM motors are pretty much useless to autopsy because the electrical components are typically encapsulated in a rubber insulating material. So there's really not much to autopsy. I mean, you can pull the motor apart and see the bearings and the stator and the shaft pretty much, but the electrical module and everything like that, they're pretty much not really anything special to see because they're just encapsulated in rubber. I have cut them apart as best as possible, but I haven't really learned too much about it. So let me see what else we got going on in the chat. How do I feel about pinch-off tool for fan cycling switches on ice machines? Jay Gonzo. The only time I use a pinch-off tool, I don't like pinch-off tools. I do use them, okay? And I do a lot of ice machine work, and manufacturers actually want you to use a pinch-off tool when you're replacing encapsulated pressure controls and encapsulated fan cycle controls. I personally don't like them because a pinch point is a leak point. In my experience, oftentimes you have to pinch it off, and then what you can do, this is kind of sketchy, but what you can do is when you're all done and you open up the pinch point, you can very carefully lay a braze joint on there. But here's the problem. When you try to lay a braze joint on there, there's gas on the other side of that system. So if you don't know what you're doing and you overheat the copper, you can have a catastrophic rupture, right? And there could be an issue. It could scare the crap out of you, could hurt you. But a pinch point, even if you round it out, is a weak point in the system, and I don't like doing them. I have done them in the past, but if I can, I get away from using pinch-off tools. But I have to regularly use pinch-off tools on R290 systems when I'm working on them, so it is what it is. All right, let's go cross that one off my list now that I went off on my rant. I do have to address the fact that my YouTube comments have finally gotten out of control. And what I mean by that is I can't keep up with them. There's so many comments. I used to try to acknowledge every single comment and leave some sort of a response for every single comment, but I just can't get to them anymore. I have a hard enough time just reading every comment. So I try, guys, but it's actually getting to the point now where it's just getting out of hand and I can't get my eyes on every single comment. I do try my best to get in there and read and acknowledge as many as possible. And I appreciate all the support, but I just can't get to them all. So just keep that in mind. If there's something that you're trying to ask me in the comments, keep commenting it and or send me an email, hvacrvideos@gmail.com, and I'll try to get to it there too, okay? Let's see what else we got going on in here. Let me mark that one off. Let me get to the stream. How do I keep track of my refrigerant usage for my technicians? The same thing about it is, to be honest and frank, I don't track my refrigerant at all, okay? I put a lot of trust into my technicians. I'm a small company right now. I only have myself and another technician that is actually handling refrigerant. I have 2 other guys, but they typically don't handle refrigerant. Back when I did have 5 or 6 techs out in, in trucks and everything, we just kind of worked off the honor system, which is kind of sketchy, but You know, if I can't trust my technicians, it's not worth it to me. I'm not in the business to grow and scale and all this crap to make my business huge. I just want to focus on providing really good quality service. And I find, and again, maybe it's my business practices, the bigger I get, the harder it is to make my company work the way that I want it to work. The smaller I am, the easier it is to make sure that things are going the correct way. So I purposely kind of keep things small, although right now I'm a little too small. So I definitely do want to hire a couple more techs, but I don't think I ever want to grow it bigger than 5 techs again, because it just gets out of hand for me. Alaska, thank you so very much for the super chat. Alaska says I'm becoming too famous. I can't keep up with you. No, it's more or less that I'm trying to prioritize my time and spend more time with my family is really what it is. But all right, let's see what else we got going on in here. Exactly, I'm human. That is exactly it. Okay. Yeah, Mike B. It is kind of crazy sometimes. So, pinch off tool equals vice grips, cyborg sheep. Well, there's a special pinch off tool. If what I use in my videos is not actually vice grips, they use vice grip makes them, but it's not a typical vice grip tool. It's a set of pliers that has a rounded off end. So when it pinches, it doesn't make a crease. It more or less pinches it softly, if that makes sense. So it's rounded on each end of the mating surface of the tool, but it looks just like a set of vice grip pliers. Yes, but it's not the same. So, if you have the money, is it worth getting the MR45, and that is the field piece recovery machine? Absolutely. If you're in the biz or looking for a new recovery machine, and I would strongly suggest the field piece MR45, hands down. That is an amazing recovery machine. I use it I mean, it's in my van. I love it. I have not put them in all my employees' vans simply because I haven't had to buy a recovery machine. But as I phase out recovery machines, yes, I will be buying the field piece MR45 for all my vehicles. I also love their vacuum pump. Now, I go with the 10 CFM vacuum pump. That is way oversized for what we do, but there's times that I do use that, so I prefer to have a bigger one. And the cool thing about their 10 CFM vacuum pump is it's the lightest of their vacuum pumps, which is a trip. So it's really, really cool. Let's get into here. I'm probably missing a lot of stuff. Where's the best place to find technician? Eli, boy, that is the golden question. It is so difficult to find technicians right now. Honestly, it's just to the point that I'm just not even trying, right? I mean, I have a platform here where I can say that I'm hiring or I'm not hiring and I'll get resumes, but it's really difficult to compete because, you know, there's these companies out there that are just paying crazy sign-on bonuses. They're doing anything to keep the doors open to bring technicians in. Right now, we are struggling. Honestly, I would say train from the ground up would be your best bet. I know that's difficult. I'm currently training an apprentice. It's a lot of work and a lot of commitment on both our parts, right? Because I'm spending a lot of time not really making very much money, if any at all, while he's getting trained. And, you know, I got to do my best to keep him with me. So it's just one of those things, you know. It's a struggle, but my choice is to train from the ground up. Unless that one unicorn tech comes across my doorstep. Right now, I'm training from the ground up, and I'll probably hire another apprentice when I get this one trained and work my way up there and build my workforce. And then I just got to do a good job of keeping them with me, which I've failed in the past with other technicians. So, let me see. Going through the chats. Have I serviced a walk-in that had more than one condensing unit for one box? No, I can't say I have. Laska's saying he uses the brown colored circular pinch off tool. I don't know if I know which one that is, Laska. You may want to send me an email. I'm sure you got it. You know my email. All right. So there we go. Going through the chat right now, seeing what I'm missing. If I miss your guys' stuff, make sure you repost it again. Okay. There we go. See, I'm not going to stop doing videos, Roger, of course. Thank you very much. That was a very nice comment, man. Hey, you know, the whole point of these videos, I still get comments from people that are bitter that I make YouTube videos, that are bitter that, you know, I share the knowledge that I have, right? And I only have a little bit of knowledge, and I will never claim to have it all. I'm always learning. I make mistakes just like all of you guys. We all make mistakes. It's how we learn from them. That's what I see in a technician. It's how you learn from your mistakes and grow from them. Okay? It's inevitable that we're going to make mistakes. You want to hope that those aren't crazy mistakes, but it's inevitable, right? So in my opinion, it's how we grow from those mistakes and how we learn from them. I've certainly made a lot of mistakes, and I've certainly learned a lot from those mistakes. And that's why I make these videos. You remember, I started making these videos for my own service technicians. I was sharing the little bit of knowledge that I had with them, and then it became a thing, and it grew legs. And here we are, 3 years later, whatever it is. I started this channel in November of 2017, and it's just exploded to epic proportions that I never wanted it to be this big. And while I'm thankful for it, it's definitely a beast to control. But I'm just here to just share. Right. I just, and the cool thing is now that I've gotten kind of, whatever you want to call it, I've gotten to a place that now manufacturers and other educators and stuff reach out to me, and we can collaborate and we can share knowledge that way. I'm about to do a video with my buddy Trevor Matthews where I posted a thing on the internet on social media about a compressor diagnosis, and I'm literally going to someone that was the one of the main guys at Emerson in Canada for Copeland compressors, and I'm going to have one-on-one conversation with him and have him explain things so that way we can put it on the internet. I'm sure he's going to put it on his platform. I'm going to put it on mine, and we're going to share the knowledge, right? Understand something though, and I don't really talk about this, okay? I'm fine. I really am. And I'm not e-begging or anything like that. But understand something. All the different content creators out there, right? Any support you can give those content creators helps them. Okay? That's why we make merchandise and different things like that. I don't want to just ask you guys for money. That's just not my style. Okay? So I make a hat. I make a shirt. I make a couple bucks. I don't even make that much. Each one of my items, I price it at like a $5 profit on each item after all expenses and costs. Okay, so I'm not trying to rob you guys on it, but every little bit helps, right? But any content creator you guys watch, when and if you get an opportunity, support them in any which way that you can. Okay, whether, again, if you're watching someone's YouTube videos, just watch the videos, right? Watch them all the way through without skipping through anything. That's the easiest way to support these guys. Interact with them. Send them emails. Interact with the live streams and different things. Every little bit helps because myself and all these other guys are putting a lot of time into this stuff, and girls, trying to share that knowledge. Okay. I'm a firm believer in sharing information, and those people that reach out to me and say they're mad at me because I'm sharing that knowledge, I just think it's silly because I'm not afraid of myself losing my job. I'm not afraid of getting replaced. Because I know that the skills that I have are going to transfer. I'm going to be able to go work for someone. I'm going to be in demand for the rest of my life. And so are you if you're a good service technician. So jump up on that soapbox and share every little bit of knowledge that you have, trying to grow the trade and make it a better trade. Because we need that help. You have these amazing people, much better than myself. Brian Orr, Trevor Matthews, you have, Ty Brannaman, amazing educators sharing their knowledge on YouTube, right? Those people, see, I just make entertaining videos that shows me working on things. You can actually watch one of their videos and you can truly learn some crazy technical skills. So I suggest go looking at all of their channels, right? It definitely helps it out. Laska, thank you so very much. And Eli, again, that's not why I said that stuff, but thank you guys so very much for those super chats and that support. It is amazing. Okay. There you go, Laska. I get it now. No, I don't need a visual anymore. Please don't send me that email, Laska. I don't need to see it, okay? That's funny. That's too funny. Oh, man. Let me see. You guys are cracking me up in the chat right now. If you guys are watching this and you on a TV or something and you don't know, you're missing out on the live chat. So if you watch this on a TV, you can try to pull up the live chat, or you can pull it up on your phone or something like that. But the chat's hilarious because people are in there. Ike, thank you so much for being a channel supporter for 17 months now. That's amazing, Ike. That's awesome, bud. Thank you so much. So Ike actually runs a Discord server dedicated to this channel. Discord is basically like a giant organized chat room kind of like Facebook with individual rooms, and a little bit less drama than Facebook. At least Ike does a really good job of keeping the drama out of the Discord server. Now, to be completely fair, I'm not in the Discord server very often because it's hard enough for me to keep and stay on top of my normal social media, but I do go in there occasionally. I'm going to post a link to the Discord server right now in the live chat. Feel free to go join it. It's just a cool place to hang out. There's no money involved or anything like that. It's just a place to hang out and talk. So, let me see. The thing about it is, he says he's been doing residential service for 11 years and started watching the videos from the beginning. I did. Oh, thank you very much, man. I really appreciate it, bud. That was a really nice comment from you. Okay. That's funny. You guys are great with these comments. This is hilarious. Oh man, you guys are killing me in the chat. Can I look at my email for go over in the chat? Daily HVACR. Sure. I'll pull up my email and see what we got going on in here. Let me read this. I'm reading your email right now. Okay, so he's talking about in the email, I'm paraphrasing his email. He says he works on a lot of Delfield units, and he starts to notice a white and a green corrosive material on the copper. Again, I quickly blazed through your email there reading it. So he's starting to notice like a white and a greenish color on the copper. First off, the white color, in my opinion, that you're seeing on the copper is typically a flux, okay? Some sort of a fluxing material that wasn't wiped off from the factory if you're seeing like a white color. If you start to see greens and different flora, like greens and purples and different things like that, that is typically corrosion happening from chemicals that are attacking the copper typically. The particular customer that you mentioned has a lot of uncovered food in their boxes and different things like that. And again, I didn't spend a lot of time on your email, so if I didn't quite answer your question correctly, feel free to respond to that email after the live stream. But typically, it's corrosive materials that are attacking it. And with that particular manufacturer, Delfield, we have, just like any manufacturer out there, we've seen a lot of quality control issues because when they came back and are trying to rehire their workforce, in my opinion, they're having a hard time hiring their workforce, and they're pushing stuff out without quality control truly going through the equipment. I've had a lot of equipment from all manufacturers delivered to the customer completely flat on refrigerant with a braze joint completely missed, not even like missed a spot on the braze joint, just straight up missed a coupling, like didn't braze it up. Like, so how would they ever charge it? And when they did charge it, how did they not see gas leaking out? It just dumbfounds me. So it's a lot of quality control issues with the manufacturers. Now, keep something in mind, though. I've talked about this. I've talked about the Amazon effect and different things like that. These quality issues, right? These low-cost boxes, not so much the quality issues in the last 2 years, but the low-cost equipment, the cheap equipment, that all manufacturers are making. We're the reason why they're making that equipment, because we as consumers demand cheaper, right? We bitch because we don't want to pay $9 for a burger. We want a $5 burger and all this different stuff. So we're demanding cheaper. So therefore manufacturers are making cheaper. Okay. Notice that in the 80s, you could get a refrigeration unit that would last for 25, 30 years, a reach-in cooler. Nowadays, you can buy a brand new reach-in cooler and spend all the money in the world you want on it, and it will not last more than 5 to 6 years because they just rot out around themselves because we constantly drive the quality down. So again, if I didn't answer your question accordingly, feel free to respond to that email, okay? So Jonathan had asked me a question, and I'm paraphrasing, but he has a receiver that has a receiver pump down capacity of 28 pounds. This is a freezer unit, okay? So the receiver capacity is 28 pounds, but he added 33 pounds and wants to know if it will be okay. So Jonathan, couple things I want to ask you, okay? Number one, when you say receiver capacity, is that system pump down capacity, or is that the 80% capacity of the receiver? If the information that you got that said receiver capacity of 28 pounds is on the receiver's information or on the receiver's nomenclature, then more than likely that just applies to the receiver. And then when you add a condenser and the liquid drain coming out of the condenser going into the receiver, you're probably going to have a little bit more storage capacity. So to answer your question, if you put 33 pounds in a system that had a 28 pound receiver capacity, there's always the potential that that is still okay. Now, If this condensing unit has a pump down capacity of 28 pounds and you added 33 pounds, more than likely you are going to have issues, and more than likely you potentially overfilled the system with too much refrigerant. Now, judging by your numbers, I'm going to guess that you're working on a Heatcraft condensing unit. You may have said that in the email, but I don't have that on my notes right now, because 28 pounds capacity with 33 pounds of refrigerant. I swear that I just did a Heatcraft 3 horsepower that had a 28 pound pump down capacity, but altogether it took 33 pounds of gas for me to charge the system properly. So I had to verify by pumping the system down and checking the liquid level in the receiver that it was not overfilled. So again, some of you guys may not understand the little caveat I went off on there, but I just recently did a system and those numbers match up exactly to the system that I did. So I'm kind of curious about that, Jonathan. Feel free to answer me a little bit more, but just remember, I'm asking, is it receiver capacity or is it system pump down capacity? So let's talk about this right now. So we have a condensing unit that will have a system pump down capacity that tells you that pumped down, this system, the entire condensing unit can hold this much refrigerant. So you cannot put any more refrigerant than what the pump down capacity is if you plan on pumping it down at the liquid line receiver. Now, there's some ways you can get around this, but if you're going to try to pump it down at the receiver, you need to make sure that is not overfilled, and especially if it has a microchannel condenser. If it has a microchannel condenser and you're trying to pump it down, you could have a catastrophic failure of the condenser and it can rupture, and that can be a problem. So keep that in mind and be very, very cautious about that. But if there's ways you can get around it, because sometimes some of these stock refrigeration units receivers are not big enough to properly hold enough refrigerant. And what you can do is you can manipulate the system by moving the liquid line solenoid valve down to the evaporator and only pumping it down at the liquid line solenoid valve during normal operation. And then if you ever have to do service work, you're going to have to recover the charge because you typically wouldn't be able to pump it down at the receiver. Okay. So that again, I need a little bit more context there, Jonathan, but hopefully I kind of answered your question a little bit. Okay. But inevitably though, you need to pump the system down, check the liquid level. You can use a thermal imaging camera. You can use a heat producing device, heat up the receiver, feel the liquid level, just run your fingers down it the moment or up it, and the spot where it gets red hot on the receiver, and then right below that, a ½ inch below it, is cold. That's your liquid level. So that's the level with the refrigerant is staying a liquid and then it's turning to a vapor. The reason why we have a maximum 80% fill on a liquid line receiver is because there's always going to be vapor and liquid in there, and you want to make sure that you have room for expansion. As that gas heats up, it may condense or it may vaporize a little bit more, and you want to make sure that you have that room for expansion so that way you don't have a catastrophic explosion of that storage vessel. Hopefully that makes sense for you, bud. Let's see. Serious question though. How do I feel about pumping down with scrolls? Pumping down with scrolls can be tricky. You have to make sure that you're not pumping down too low. Copeland scroll compressors have floating seals in them. This is the head of a Copeland scroll right here. Here's the floating seal, and this will move, and they have safeties built in because you don't want to run a scroll compressor in a vacuum. So if a scroll compressor runs down into a negative pressure, if it's a newer Copeland scroll, when you turn it off, you're going to hear a pressure relief go tss, almost like a blow-off valve, right? And it's going to relieve the pressure from the high side into the low side, and then you'll start to see short cycling and different things like that. So typically you don't want to set your pressure controls too low. Always follow what the manufacturer recommends for pressure control settings. And again, if you want to know what that sounds like, it goes just like that, okay? Because I'm sure someone's going to ask me. All right. Dino, he said, sorry for being late. Did we miss a video on Sunday? Had withdrawals. Yeah, no, I just didn't have the mental capacity to do a video on Sunday. So had a lot of stuff going on. Wasn't feeling too good. Had some family stuff going on and just needed a day to just chill. I'm still kind of dealing with some of it because we had a death in the family, but I'm good. All is well. But yeah, just kind of, you know, dealing with the morning and stuff. So have I serviced a reach-in with a flawed design? I'm sure I have, bud, but I can't think of one right now. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get to my list. So Mike, I'm paraphrasing Mike's question, okay? He had a walk-in freezer. It's a Heatcraft QRC evaporator units. He said a couple of days ago he had an E6 code, which is low superheat on the QRC. QRC is the quick response controller. It's the well, it's a dumbed-down version of the beacon system, and it's it's been replaced by the intelligence system now. Whatever, it's a whole bunch of different stuff. But the QRC, I have plenty of QRC controllers out there. So he had a low superheat code. He tried to call tech support on all the readings. All of the sensors and thermistors jive with his probes and clamps. The superheat swings from 5 degrees as much as 9 degrees, and it's set for 7. What are my thoughts? He's asking me. So, Mike, the first thing I'm going to say, you said all the sensors and everything jive and they're all good, but I'm assuming that you checked proper calibration of the pressure transducer to make sure that the pressure transducer, if you don't know what a pressure transducer is, everybody that's watching, it takes a mechanical or a mechanical pressure, right, and it converts it to a digital signal, okay? So it's an analog digital converter. So it converts it to a digital signal, then it sends it to the board and tells the board that it's 55 PSI or whatever. So pressure transducers can fail. They can cause low superheat issues, so double check that. Obviously, you said you double check the sensors. When you're working on the QRC sensors, it's almost one of those things. The failure rate is so high that if you have any questions personally, I would go ahead and change all the sensors. There's only 3 or 4 in there. They're not very much money. Just for peace of mind, I personally would replace those. I've seen sensor failures where it works fine and it temps fine, but it has moisture intrusion and different things like that, and it can cause issues. So I would start with that. The next thing I'm going to say is if you're working on a QRC system and you got a low superheat code, you need to be 100% sure, Mike, that there is not a time delay relay inside the condensing unit, okay? The QRC system is a standalone evaporator that you can use with any condensing unit. But if you use a condensing unit that has a Copeland scroll in it, majority of the time it's going to come with a time delay relay in there that tries to prevent short cycling on the compressors. The QRC system ran into a bunch of problems using the time delay relay. And ironically, Heatcraft, the manufacturer of QRC, ships their condensing units that have scroll compressors with that exact time delay relay that is the problem. So if you have a time delay relay in your condensing unit, Heatcraft will tell you, take that time delay relay out and adjust your pressure control accordingly. Make sure it's set properly so that way you're not getting short cycling. That time delay relay is in there as a band-aid because most of us don't know how to set pressure controls properly, and Copeland was sick and tired of having compressor warranty jobs where there was nothing wrong with their compressor except for it was short cycling, right? And it failed, so they started instituting and telling everybody to put these time delay relays in there as a safety device, okay? So keep that in mind, Mike, and hopefully I answered your question for you. Feel free to send me another email if I didn't answer it enough, okay? Yeah, Mike, then get that time delay relay out of there. I didn't realize you were in the chat right now, so cool. Yeah, get that time delay relay out there. Set the pressure control accordingly. Reach out to Heatcraft or check the installation manual. It'll tell you what to set the pressure control for your ambient conditions and the refrigerant you're using. That time delay relay typically is your problem. So get it out of there, and Heatcraft will tell you the exact same thing if they ever call you back after the 6 years of being on hold. So, yeah, don't pressure those transducers, as I did in one of my videos. The pressure transducer are pressure sensitive, and I ruined one of them because I pressure tested it up to like 200 or 250 PSI, and right on the installation instructions of the equipment, it says do not pressurize higher than 150 PSI, and I ruined the pressure transducer. So yes, be very cautious about pressure testing the systems over the recommended rates of pressure test. And if you are going to have to go over whatever the pressure transducer says, pull the transducer off for the pressure test. Let me see. JCC 3279 says, how's my crazy lab doing? So if you guys don't already know, I have a now 4-month-old Labrador Retriever that I just got. We're going through full puppy stages right now. Every week is something different. This week, he's like a child that is testing our limits. All of a sudden this week, he decided he wasn't going to listen to us anymore. And it's funny because my daughter came into my room today in my office just talking to me, and she was telling me how disobedient he was, how last week he was behaving, this week he's doing the polar opposite. He's like a teenager. He's just going through drama right now. And it's like, I get frustrated too, because over the weekend I told my wife, I was like, I have to raise my voice to get him to acknowledge me. Like, and I hate raising my voice. I don't like doing it, but I have to raise my voice and yell. And that's the only thing that gets him to, oh, okay, he's serious, you know? So he's just testing us. He's testing what he can get away with. And it's just funny because he's just a dumb dog. And here we are, you know? No, but he's a good dog, and it's a lot of fun. We're really looking forward to being able to take him out and doing things and stuff. Right now, he's still really young, and he just got his second round of shots. So we have one more round to go before we can start socializing him and doing things, and we're really looking forward to that because right now we're stuck in the house. You know, nobody can leave. You know, like one of us always has to be home with them. It's just like, it's annoying. So, replay. All right, so let's see what else we got in here. Right on. How do I feel about defrost time delay relays? Defrost time delay relay. I'm trying to think about a defrost time delay relay. I don't know about. For some reason, am I drawing a brain fart right now, Thomas? What is a defrost time delay relay? I don't know what a defrost time delay relay is. I'm confused on that one, bud. I just may be having a brain fart right now. Yeah, that's funny. Yes, I have to raise my voice. It's a bummer. What is the Discord? Jordan Werner. I'm going to post a link right now. Boom. There's the Discord server right there. All right. So Jared, wait a minute. Am I missing something here? Who asked me? I'm about to answer a question right now. No, it's Thomas. Okay. So Jared had sent me an email asking me to discuss defrost termination fan delay switches for walk-in freezers. And let's talk about those because they're really very misunderstood. First and foremost, I'm going to strongly suggest that all of you go get Commercial Refrigeration for Air Conditioning Technicians by Dick Wers. Now, this is the 4th edition. This is the newest version. Dick does a great job. I had the pleasure of meeting Dick. He's a really nice guy, and he's an amazing educator, and he's done such a great job with this book, okay? But he does an amazing job explaining defrost termination fan delays. So we're going to go into here, page 20. He has pictures. See, for me, I need pictures because I'm a dum-dum. So when I start reading, I get sleepy. But if I have pictures to look at, I'm like, hey, that looks cool. So he's got a perfect example in here of electric defrost systems and defrost termination and fan delays. Okay, so I'd highly suggest you guys get this book. You can also download a PDF version. Commercial Refrigeration for Air Conditioning Technicians. See, he's breaking down the defrost termination fan delay right here, breaking down what's inside of it and what it does. In a nutshell, a defrost termination fan delay is a 3-wire combination defrost termination switch and fan delay switch, okay? So what it does is when an evaporator gets energized from the roof, right, it says, hey, refrigeration's turned on. It controls the evaporator fan motors. It does not allow the evaporator fan motors to come on until the evaporator temperature gets below freezing typically, okay? Once the evaporator temperature gets below freezing, it will then typically turn on the evaporator fan motors. The logic behind this is you're reducing the load on the system by bringing the evaporator temperature down, because coming out of a defrost, if you have electric defrost or you're doing hot gas defrost, that evaporator can be really, really hot. And if you turn it on, you're going to blow steam out, and that steam is instantly going to freeze and cause ice particles and different things in the system, okay? But also you're reducing the load on the compressor by running the evaporator without fan motors temporarily for a short period of time until the evaporator gets down to a certain temperature, okay? So that's the fan delay portion. Then the defrost termination portion kind of does the opposite. When it's in defrost, it has a temperature sensor inside the evaporator. And if that temperature of that evaporator gets over a certain point, like 55 degrees or something like that. Now keep that in mind, that 55 degrees is is, even though that sounds high in a walk-in freezer, it's actually not, okay? Because that's temperature close to defrost heaters. That's not space temperature inside the box. But typically, each manufacturer has a little bit of a different number, but typically about 55 degrees. When that temperature switch sees 55 degrees, it terminates defrost, and it sends a signal up to the defrost clock. It goes to the X terminal on the defrost clock. It typically has a timer release solenoid on it. It energizes the solenoid. It pushes the defrost clock out of defrost. That's on an older Paragon. If you go to a new electromechanical clock, it doesn't have a solenoid. It's just a relay, and it terminates the defrost. So your defrost can be time and or temperature terminated. So you're not necessarily wasting energy. If the evaporator gets warm enough, it says, hey, I'm defrosted. I don't need to spend 20 more minutes melting it and running strip heaters. Let's go ahead and turn these off, and it goes back into the freeze mode. So there's a little bit more into the defrost termination fan delay, but really it's not that big of a deal. And the easiest way to understand them is actually separate them. Think about it as a fan delay switch and a defrost termination switch. Now, some evaporators actually have 3 limit switches. You have a heater safety, a defrost termination, and a fan delay, completely separate switches, okay? You can consolidate 2 of those, defrost termination and fan delay, because they're both wired very similarly, right? And the way that they're wired in, you can run them both off of the same circuit, basically, okay? So hopefully that makes sense for you. If I didn't answer it enough, feel free to send me another email, and we can talk about it a little bit more, Jared, okay? Let's go to the chat and see what we got going on in here. Seeing what I'm missing. I'm not seeing anything. I don't have a link to the book, so sorry. I'm not going to go there and answer that question. If you guys haven't already, there's some cool ways to support the stream. My moderator bot, I noticed right now, posted in there that if you guys are interested in purchasing any tools and you like TrueTech Tools pricing, I have an offer code, big picture, one word. You can use that. You get an 8% discount as of today, and it is November 8th of 21 right now. If you know what you're going to get, you can shoot me an email. I'll get you an affiliate link. I can get a little bit more of a commission that way. You still get to use the discount code, okay? So that's a cool way to support the channel. If you're going to buy some tools, you might as well buy them from there if they have the right price, right? All right, I'm going to go to another question here. I get this question all the time, and I pretty much have to address it almost every live stream. Why am I fixing this reach-in? Why did I fix that AC? It should have been replaced. I did the customer a disservice because I didn't tell them they had to replace the equipment. Why did I use R22? That's a waste of money. Why didn't I use insert flavor of refrigerant? Why did I put this in? Why didn't I do that? It all comes down to the customer, okay? I give the customer the options, and they choose what they want. I am here to give the customer a big picture diagnosis. That's what I do, okay? What they do with that big picture diagnoses, I really don't have much control over. As long as they're paying me, I'm doing the work, okay? So if I give the customer the options and say, hey, I strongly suggest that you replace this package unit that's R22 on the roof, and they say, nah, we want you to go ahead and fix it, and I give them a quote and it's really expensive and they still choose to approve it, my hands are tied. I'm doing what they want. To give some context, number one, with reach-in coolers right now, it's really hard to even get reach-in coolers. The build time on them is ridiculously long, so customers are fixing things that normally they wouldn't fix and they would normally replace. When it comes to air conditioning equipment, number one, it's hard to find package units. Number two, I live in Southern California. We have crazy code requirements. We're a very restrictive state for good and bad reasons, and it's very expensive to properly and legally change a package unit on the roof. Most places don't even want to pull permits and they just want to wing it and take the risk. Sometimes they do that, okay? But to do things by code and by the book oftentimes can be triple the cost of the unit, because let's just say I want to change a package unit. First off, need a load calculation. Second off, we need to go ahead and do structural drawings to make sure, or come find the structural drawings for the building to make sure that the equipment is not going to be oversized. It can't weigh any more than the existing equipment. You have like a 200-pound leeway. Anything over 200-300 pounds, they want structural engineers to certify that the equipment's not going to weigh too much. They have to correct those issues, add extra beams, do whatever they have to do to make it structurally sound. Once you get past that point, Then you have the process of filing for the permits, doing all that stuff. Okay, that's great. You go ahead and change the package unit. Then when you change the package unit, you have to have a third-party company come out after you're done, verify that the equipment was installed properly, verify that it's working properly, then verify that the ductwork is tight and sealed. Here's the kicker. There's not one commercial business out there that I go into that doesn't have horrendous ductwork. It's all jacked up. Horrible airflow, undersized, oversized, leaks everywhere. And majority of the time, they don't want to fix it. So in order to bring that building up, it's going to cost them a ridiculous amount of money. And most customers don't want to go through that. So they choose to go ahead and repair equipment. Again, I give all my customers the options and I let them make the decisions. Half the time, I don't even sell them the equipment because depending on which restaurant chain I'm working for, they may buy the equipment themselves and I just got to deal with what they buy. Okay. So it's really on the customer and what they want to do. Why am I wearing a all black? Am I mad at my parents? No, man, come on. I'm supporting myself, right? Damn. Got my HVACR videos merch, man. Come on. Hey, don't tell my wife that I went and stole this because I don't know what I did with my other hoodie that I had, and I went and stole this from the merch pile. So the inventory level's down 1. I got to secretly get in there and change it without telling her that I took one for myself. So let me see. What am I missing? Money. That's right. All right, cool with there. All right, I'm going to go ahead and go to the question. So I'm paraphrasing Kevin's question, but Kevin asked if I have the customer sign a disclaimer before I leave to cover my butt. And he was talking about a video, and I quickly glossed through his question, so I could be completely misunderstanding it, but I'm assuming that he was talking about the fact that in this particular video that I released, I left the equipment at like 50 degrees or something like that because I was like, I don't have time to wait for it to come down to temperature. So I told the customer it should be down to temp in a couple hours. So he was kind of asking me if I have the customers sign a disclaimer to kind of cover my butt before I leave to tell them that you need to go verify that the food's not trash or whatever. No, I typically don't have the customers sign disclaimers because it's a slippery slope once you start to get down into that. First off, customers don't ever read anything, right? And I use an invoicing program, and I typically will read the invoice to them. And I do put in there like, hey, I don't know why this failed. It could be this going on or it could be that going on. Hey, Bowler Forever, thank you so very much for becoming a channel supporter. That is amazing. Thank you, bud. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I don't really have them sign disclaimers just because it becomes a slippery slope where I make them think that I'm responsible for their food because I'm not. Simply, I'm a service technician and I'm not here to make sure that their food is temping correctly. I'm just here to make sure that the equipment is working properly. And oftentimes I come up on food all the time that's at 50, 60 degrees. And it's not my business or anything to tell them that food is trash, to make them throw it away, or that's not my thing. I don't get involved in any of that. So no, I don't really sign disclaimers because they really don't mean much and customers don't read half the crap that's on the invoice anyways. So hopefully I answered your question there, Kevin. And let's see what else we got going on in here. Starting wages for a new service technician. Free funky. It really depends on where you're at. In Southern California, if you're a brand new technician and you're coming to work for me, typically no schooling, no anything, or just out of school or something like that, you're going to start typically around $18 an hour or something like that, and then work your way up. And from an apprentice to 6 months in an apprentice and so on, you're going to get significant increases as it goes along. It just depends on what part of the industry you're going in, what kind of schooling you have, what your mechanical aptitude is. Every person's different. I'm not going to say that every person that comes to work for me is going to make 18 an hour, but typically that's going to be the minimum at which I'm going to start people. And even that, is going to be variable depending on the person's experience. All right. In Southern California, have schooling. Yeah. So, commercial, you're minimum, you're going to start at about 18 an hour minimum, and probably more than that, depending on where you're going. So, I had posted a picture on Instagram, and I just kind of wanted to address this when I was announcing that I wasn't going to do a video on Sunday. And it was showing a picture of my pressure probes being on the discharge line, and there was a few people in there commenting on that question. It may have been in Facebook. I don't know. I posted it on Insta and Facebook. But there was a few people asking a question, why did I have my pressure probe on the discharge line? And then someone was asking if I was checking subcooling, and there was some questions in there. So I've talked about this several times in my video, and in that conversation, the people were talking about, you know, someone was saying, well, isn't the pressure going to be the same and all this different. So let's clarify this. It's not 100% accurate that discharge pressure and liquid line pressure will be the same. Sometimes they will be the same, but sometimes they will not. And it really depends on how the manufacturer designed the equipment. I worked on a package unit today that was operating properly, that had a 20 PSI pressure differential from the discharge pressure port to the liquid pressure port. Okay, so there was a pressure change going through the condenser. It was dropping down 20, sometimes 25 PSI. But that's how the manufacturer, Lennox, designed their equipment. You can go work on a carrier package unit and it might be 30 degrees. You can go work on a train package unit, it might be 10 degrees. It just depends how they design the equipment, okay? So it is not true that discharge and liquid pressure will always be the same. No, it is not true, okay? There's times. On some refrigeration systems, it may be the same, but not always, okay? It's usually marginal, but still, it's not always the same. And understanding that really does make a difference. If you only have a discharge port, for instance, if you're working on a carrier package unit and you only have a discharge port, but you want to check subcooling, well, you have to understand that there's going to be a discrepancy there and your subcooling may run a little bit off, okay? So you're not necessarily going to see a perfect 10 degrees subcooling because of that, because your discharge line pressure may be 20 to 30 PSI higher than what your liquid line pressure. And to get subcooling, refresher, back to school, to get subcooling, we take our liquid line pressure converted to a saturated temperature compared to our liquid line temperature, right? And the difference between those two would be your subcooling. All right. So in order to get subcooling, we have to use liquid line pressure. But if you're using discharge line pressure and it's 20 to 30 PSI higher than the liquid line pressure, then you're going to have a discrepancy in your subcooling number. So keep that in mind. Let me see what I got going on in the chat. Have I ever worked on variable refrigerant flow systems before? No, I have not. I've worked on mini splits before that have minor VRV technology, but nothing very big, you know, not any big, VRF systems or anything like that. No, I have not worked on that. Free Funky is asking, what about capping out pay estimates for a service technician? If you're going to get into restaurant service, you're going to cap out at $35 to $40 an hour before you go into like a supervisor role. Then you'll go into a supervisor role and you can make 45, 50-ish an hour until you get to a management position. And then the sky's kind of the limit depending on what companies you're working for. As far as commercial industrial, it's hard for me to say because I don't work in commercial industrial. You typically will make a little bit more depending on your experience level than like restaurant refrigeration. You go into rack refrigeration, you're probably, if I had to, I don't know for sure, maybe some rack guys in here, supermarket stuff can tell me, but I would say you're probably going to be in the 45 an hour range doing rack refrigeration would be my guess. I would say most service technicians on the commercial side with overtime and things like that can easily make $100,000 a year, if not a little bit more, depending, and that's on average, depending in Southern California, depending on what you're working on. Okay. But I mean, that's a senior level technician. Don't expect to be making $100,000 out of trade school. It's not going to happen. So, see what else we got going on in here. Right, that's it on that. I'm going to answer some more questions. I talked about this one last week. I wanted to kind of address it again. Let's not overthink our service calls, right? Overthinking can be a disaster. And this happens a lot with newer technicians that are nervous about going to work. And my experience is that they're constantly trying to think the service call through before they even get on site. The problem with overthinking a call is it can lead you down a rabbit hole of which you can typically walk into the job with blinders on because you're so focused on what you thought in your head might be the problem that when you get to the job site, you ignore all the obvious signs. Let's give you an example. We have a building that we walk up to. It's a package unit call. We got an air conditioner not working. It's hot in my dining room and I don't know why. Okay. So you walk up to the job. This particular time, you don't have your tools with you yet. You walk in the front door of the building, right? You're not going through the back door. You walk in the front door of the building and you make a beeline for the manager and you say, hey, so what's going on? Oh, it's just hot in my dining room and I just don't know what to do. And you look around and you go, okay. So then you go up onto the roof. You're already thinking what you might think might be the issue, right? You get up onto the roof and you're checking out the unit and you can't find a single thing wrong. You're like, the pressures are good. The saturation temperatures are good. The belts are tight. The coils are clean. Everything's good. But you ignored one really important thing because you had blinders on when you walked in the front door. You weren't using your senses when you walked in the front door. And when you walked in that front door, you opened the door and you noticed it was a little hard to open. And then when you got it open, a massive amount of outside air rushed in right past you. And you're like, didn't even think about it, right? So you're beating your head against a wall trying to find something wrong with their air conditioner when there's nothing wrong with their air conditioner. You've got infiltration because your air balance is off and the air conditioner can't keep up because the customers keep coming in and out of the building. Every time they open that door, all this hot air is rushing in the building and the air conditioner just simply can't keep up. It's doing everything it can. But you walked in the door with blinders and you weren't paying attention. You weren't using your senses, okay? So don't overthink these service calls when you're driving to the call. Start simple, right? Walk in, ask the manager, how's everything going? Pay attention. Notice things when you open the doors. Be observant, okay? It's really easy to get lost in a service call. Go back to your basics. Voltage, good, okay. Thermostat, good, okay. Work your way through it. Pressure's good, okay. Check the times on the thermostat. What are the occupied and unoccupied times? What time's it turning on? What time's it turning off? Maybe one of my technicians got a service call today. Went out to a service call. Manager called and said they had multiple air conditioners down. So he went out there and he goes, dude, I can't find anything wrong with the air conditioners. Well, no, he didn't. He called me after the fact and he goes, I went through all the ACs. I cleaned them up because they were really dirty. He cleaned them up. He goes, but nothing's jumping out. Nothing jumped out at me. He goes, until I went downstairs. I didn't have to tell him this. He went downstairs and he goes, the last thing I'm going to do, he went down and he checked the thermostats. And their thermostat at 11 in the morning said 11 p.m. Okay, so my particular restaurants, they typically turn their ACs on about 10 a.m. and then they turn them off about 11 p.m. Well, his thermostat said 11 p.m. Actually, all of them said 11 p.m. So someone got in there to change the times probably for the time change or something like that and set them wrong. So therefore, they were turning off during the entire day. So my technician caught that one. But again, he didn't go in there with blinders. He went in there and did what he had to do and found the issue. So let's not overthink these calls on the drive to our call. Because you can psych yourself out and get lost in the call. Don't do that, okay? All right, let's see what else we got going on in here. Exactly. I'm seeing in here. And no, it is not the TXV, Alaska. Thermostat, that's right. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get to my thing. I got a question about this in the chat, and I figured I should address it on here because I know there's some people that don't understand. When I'm talking about a unit, I use a couple different terms, HVAC terms all the time. What does it mean when I say head pressure? What does it mean when I say high side pressure? What does it mean when I say discharge pressure? Okay, discharge pressure, high side pressure, head pressure, they're all the same thing. It's referencing high side gauge pressure coming out of the compressor, okay? So, we have some terms that we use in HVAC, low side pressure, back pressure, suction pressure, right? All these different things, they all mean low side pressure, okay? The lower suction side or suction side pressure, right? All those different things. We have some terms, but that's what that means. They're all the same, high side, head pressure, and discharge, okay? Liquid pressure, though, just like I said a few minutes ago, is not necessarily the same as high side pressure, so keep that in mind. Someone had asked me, actually a lot of people have asked me, well, do they not do preventative maintenance at my restaurants? What the heck? Why am I getting all these dirty calls? No, a lot of my restaurants, I have 2 of my restaurant chains that do preventative maintenances. One of them that I do a lot of work with does not do preventative maintenances, at least through me. They have a national filter changing company that they use. They don't do a good job. Not necessarily the company to blame that's doing the filter changing. Here's that tiredness. It's what the customers want to pay for. So one of my customers asked me for a quote to do preventative maintenance. They asked the entire country because they're a big chain, and we all gave them. And what did I got? I talked to the upper level management or facilities, and they told me that in order to institute preventative maintenances back into their restaurant chain was going to be $8 million a year, and they just don't have that in the budget right now. So right now they're on reactive maintenance. When things break, we clean it, and they replace it when necessary. So, you know, again, I just do what I'm told. I'm not really here to go kind of crazy with these guys. So let me see. What am I missing in here? Show HVACR reshirt says, show me my crane. You like my Lego crane right there? You like that, huh? My daughter built that for me. It's a Lego Technique crane. Really cool. I like those little things. I built a couple Legos. Well, she actually builds them for me. Typically, we have a couple. We have the Mustang. We have the Beetle. We have the Volkswagen Bus. Those are fun ones. Those are the ones that I bought, and then she has a bunch of the fun ones. I like that crane one, though. That's really neat. Trailmaster, did I get your email about a switcher and streaming tips? Yes, I did, and thank you very much for that email. There's some things in the email that I will look into the switcher for sure. I'm not going to change the camera view and stuff like that because I actually use this camera view like this as a conversation piece. So I purposely show myself mid-level in the camera because I don't want it focused just on me. I want the conversation pieces behind me to be seen. So I actually do that for a reason, but I will look into the switcher for sure. Let's see. Guys, I get this question all the time, and I've been reading this question all the time, and let's just break it down to basics. Can you take an R290 system or an R600 system, which is isobutane, right? R290 is unodorized propane. Can you just take one of those systems, get rid of the R290, get rid of the R600, and put in 134A and call it a day, right? I see this in residential appliance groups quite often. There's a pretty big thread going on about all these different people saying, oh yeah, I do it all the time. It's super simple. Could you, so I'm going to answer this question right now. Could you put R134A in an R290 compressor and will it work? It will pump. Will it work efficiently? No. Okay. R290, let's just use dumb logic here. Look at an R290 system. You can have two identical boxes, same size boxes. One of them has 404 in it. One of them has R290. One of them has 134. One of them has R290. Look at the identical boxes. The size of the evaporators are going to be significantly different, okay? R290 is extremely efficient. It requires a lot less refrigerant to do the work that it would take of 134A or 404 or insert refrigerant here, okay? So if you have an R290 refrigerator, the evaporator coil and the condensing coil are sized appropriately to move the heat like they're supposed to with that refrigerant. So if you insert another refrigerant, it's not going to work efficiently anymore, okay? There's going to be a downside to it. So could someone get it to work? I even made a video on this using dumb logic, converting an R290 refrigerator to 134A, and it does not work. Does it cool? Yes. But is it going to lead to compressor failures? Yes. Okay? Prematurely. It's going to lead to a system not operating efficiently. Let's not try to re-engineer the wheel here. There's nothing really scary or bad about R290 or butane or whatever. It's not a big deal. Just follow proper practices. And I personally wouldn't be converting anything because you're setting yourself up for massive liability. I get this question all the time. What watch do I wear? It looks amazing. It looks huge. Let me tell you, this is a Samsung watch. I have it right here. I wear it on my wrist all day long. Nothing fancy about it. I walked into the Samsung store to buy this watch because I had another watch that broke. I have this one right here. Okay, this is a Galaxy Active 2, I think, and it broke. Stopped working. So I went and bought a new Samsung watch, and I walked in the store and I said, I want to replace my watch. And she's like, wow, that's really nice. What kind of watch is that? And I'm like, it's a Samsung watch. And she's like, what? It's because I have a giant watch band on this. This is just a Samsung watch right here. And you buy a band. It comes with these really cheap bands, right? I'm touching all kinds of buttons and probably calling people because it has a phone in it too. You just buy a band. This is a sup case band. It makes it super rugged. I wish I would have bought this when I had this watch right here, this Active 2 that's broken. I bought this band like a year after I got this watch, and I had already scratched the heck out of this watch, and it was already jacked up. So this one, I bought this band, and it protects your watch. And granted, you can still scratch the lens. You can get a cover or something like that, but it's just a Samsung watch. Nothing fancy. It syncs with my phone. What I really like about this watch is I can be working, and I get notifications on my watch, so I don't have to pull my phone out of my pocket and stare and say who's messaging me. I just look at my watch. My watch will vibrate to tell me I got a notification. It's an email. It doesn't matter. I just move on my day. Okay. So yeah, it's just a Samsung watch, nothing too fancy. Anthony Marino is asking, am I 100% for in-person at the symposium? He's asking me. Himself and the rest of his employees would love to see me there this year. Anthony, I cannot tell you 100% that I will be there in person. I want to be there 100% in person. It really just depends. AHR is just before the Kalos training symposium, right? Or HVACR training symposium. And AHR, I am 100% going to. I'm committed to that one because I have some obligations there. The Kalos event, I really, really want to go to, but it's weeks after AHR, and it's just a matter of taking time off work. But I'm going to tell you that I am 95% sure that I'm going to go to the Kalos training event in person. Okay, 95% sure, but there's a very small percentage that says that I might not make it. If I don't make it, I'll be doing a virtual presentation, but I strongly do want to go in person this year. Okay, I went to the first one, and it was amazing. My friends all want to go to this one. All the overtime crew wants to go to it. I have lots of people that want to meet me there. So I definitely want to be there in person. So that is the plan. I'm about 95% certain I will be there in person. Let's see what else. Do I have Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook? Mr. Handy Dandy Notebook. I have Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, YouTube, all at HVACR videos. Easy peasy, nothing fancy. Not trying to get crazy with that stuff. So HVACR videos, just search that in any one of those social media platforms and you will find me. I am most active on Facebook. I literally just started the TikTok thing, and I'm going to tell you it's already annoying because TikTok won't allow you to upload in 4K, which is silly because I record in 4K on my phone. And so now I have to switch the format of my camera before I record a TikTok thing, which is just dumb. So either I get another camera or phone just for TikTok, which is just stupid. I don't know. But anyways, yeah, I'm on all those social media platforms at HVACR videos. So, oh, there you go. Yeah, he'll just print out the cutouts for AHR of me. There you go. For sure. That's a good idea. Let's see what else. Rich, it was good seeing you in here, bud. Thanks for helping me out on the phone the other day. We'll see you later, man. Let's see what else we got. I'm just looking through the chat right now, seeing what I'm missing. Go ahead and ask me questions if you guys have questions. I'm pretty much Cyborg Sheep. I'm about ready to. I really don't care for TikTok. It really is annoying, but it's pretty popular, so I kind of feel like I need to be on there. But it's kind of annoying. It's annoying. Like there's so many things about TikTok that are just. You could just tell that it's silly because like you try to get out of TikTok and you hit the back button and it just takes you to another video and you have to hit the back button twice in a row because they want you to, are you sure you want to leave? It's just annoying. It's just dumb. And I don't send like, it's funny. So, you know, some people, they really do like staring at TikTok and watching videos and stuff all day. Some of my friends do too. I don't. I like to read articles. So I will constantly or watch YouTube videos, different things, and I'll be reading or watching a YouTube video rather than watching TikTok. TikTok is not my thing, but again, I'm trying with it. It's something new to me. So, let's see what else we got going on in here. What am I missing? How about my wife's social media platforms? Roger, my wife's social media platform, she's most active as HVACR wife. Okay, on Instagram, that's where she's most active. She does have a Facebook page. She's not very active on there yet. I've been trying to get her to be a little more active. My wife started the HVACR wife platform. Now, mind you, she can't post with the frequency that I do because she's a mom. She probably works harder than me. She's amazing, right? She's taking my kids to school all day. She's doing her own thing. She's taking care of our dog. She's keeping up the house. She's doing all this different stuff. She's kicking butt at it. So she is posting as the HVACR wife on Instagram, and she's just trying to share her perspective of how she lives the HVACR life, right? Her and I have done an HVACR life series on my YouTube channel. If you guys haven't seen it, go to YouTube and just type in HVACR Life and it'll come up. It'll be myself. There's like 5 or 6 videos that my wife did, just kind of interviewing each other, just talking about how we deal with things. And we have a whole series where we talked about finances, we talked about health issues, mental struggles, anxiety, all that different stuff. And we talk about how we deal with it, how she deals with the on-call life and different stuff like that. And so she's trying to take that to the Instagram platform too. Again, just trying to share how we do things and try to give perspective on how we live the life we do. This is a hard trade. And without communication with your spouse or significant other, it can lead to a horrible ending. So, you know, communication's key. That's the way that my wife and I get through most of it. It's not perfect. It's frustrating. We get frustrated just the same. This whole weekend, you know, I had to stay home with the dog, but if the dog wasn't there, I would have had to stay home anyway. She went to my daughter's cheerleading practice, a cheerleading event, big giant competition that my daughter went to where she got first place, and I wasn't there. I didn't get to see it because I was on call and I couldn't go and be at a stadium all day long, you know? So it's a crazy trade that we live, and it's frustrating, and we do our best, and our secret to it all is communication. I try to call her as much as possible when I'm available. She knows that she can't call me all the time. She usually doesn't call me because I'm the one that makes the effort, because I'm the one that's always busy, you know? So it's just about communication, and that's our secret to it, really, is just communication and understanding, you know? All right, let's see what else we got going on in here. That's funny. How would I troubleshoot economizers and actuators? Well, first off, it comes down to the basics and understandings. What kind of an economizer, what kind of an actuator is it? Typically, actuators operate off of different voltage. They might operate off of DC voltage. It might be a 2 to 10 volt circuit. It just depends. That's how an actuator might open and close off of a 2 to 10 volt signal. So 2 volts might be closed, 10 volts might be all the way open, or something in between might modulate it. It really depends. It might be AC voltage. You just really need to read about how they work. If you want to know economizer logic, if you want to know how economizers work, I highly suggest you get this book right here. Technical Reference Manual from Honeywell, Design and Application Guide for Honeywell Economizer Controls. This is going to go through pretty much every economizer control that Honeywell has ever came out with, explains dampers, explains all the different controls, outside air percentage charts, how to set them. They go through all the old school controls, which ones they were, all the way wiring diagrams, actuator motors. You know, it's things like this that people don't even know these things exist. And this is a PDF you can download. It even goes all the way in the end to the Jade controller, and explains how the Jade controller works, how to program it, all that different stuff. Trust me. Download this or find a place. I demanded that my supply house bring in like 7 of them. I said, I don't care what they cost. I like print books, so I'm willing to pay big money for these books. I don't care. I love holding a book in my hand versus looking at something on my phone. Let's see what else we got. I don't live the Hallmark life, man. How do I troubleshoot very slight undetectable leaks? Frank JF Guan. Well, if it's a very, very slight leak, what I'm going to suggest is to pressurize the system with nitrogen. Now, while you typically don't ever want to go over pressure recommendations from a manufacturer, if it's a typical system that does not have pressure transducers, I might go beyond the scope of what they recommend pressurizing a system if I'm really battling a leak. I might start pumping a little bit higher and a little bit higher, get maybe 50 PSI past what they recommend, but you need to be very careful about that because there's a lot of sensitive components in systems. You want to be cautious not to overpressurize anything and understand what you're doing. You can also try to isolate it if it's a split system, like a residential split system. Go ahead and turn the system off, recover the charge, and isolate the suction line and the evaporator from the condensing unit. Pressurize them both to, you know, whatever the manufacturer says, 150, 200 PSI with nitrogen, and come back a couple days later and see if the evaporator and the suction line dropped or the condensing unit. By using isolation valves, it really does help you to try to pinpoint leaks and or pressurize with nitrogen and kind of go from there. Does that include hydronic economizer? Roger Betancourt. I don't think it does include hydronics because I think it is on the air side. But I think the logic in there would explain hydronic economizers, just understanding what free cooling is using that logic. But no, I don't think there's anything about water side economizers though. I think it just explains basic electrical stuff, but I think it's mostly air side economizers. Yeah, I'm looking through it and I'm not seeing anything about water controls in here. So, all right, let's go ahead. What are my thoughts on Carrier EcoBlue axial fan systems? Kevin Corona, I'm scared to death of them. Okay. The Carrier EcoBlue axial evaporator fan motors, they're a giant axial fan motor. If you watch any one of my kitchen AC videos not working, when I open them up, I usually have to take the indoor blower assembly out and completely degrease it because it's packed full of grease from the kitchen air. And an axial fan motor, that is going to be a nightmare trying to degrease one of those. That is my biggest fear. It's inevitable because that's pretty much all you can buy now. But yeah, I'm worried about those axial fan motors. And then also it takes a little bit more common sense and electrical knowledge to know how to set the airspeed on those axial fan motors, because you actually have to get a manometer out, check pressure settings, and do different things to set the airflow properly, to the best of my understanding. I already answered that one. All right. Well, I am going to wrap this up, guys. I am tired and I can smell dinner in the other room. I really, really appreciate you guys making it in here as usual. Thank you so very much. If you haven't already, please consider checking out my website, hvacrvideos.com. We got these sweaters, these hats. There's the back of the sweater right there. We got shirts, beanies. It's all a great way to help support the channel. Beanies, we got cuffed and non-cuffed, all that good stuff. So if you're interested, check out the website, hvacrvideos.com. I am going to wrap this up. Again, I really, really appreciate it. If you have questions or things that I forgot to answer or didn't get to, feel free to send me an email, and I will try to answer it on the next live stream if at all possible. Okay, I'm going to cue up the outro music, and again, I really appreciate you, and we will catch you on the next one. Okay.